Hello and welcome to another episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so excited to be recording my second episode. And when I was planning this episode a couple of weeks ago, I was going through a weird phase. I felt very dissociated, and I don't know if anyone's ever heard of dissociation, but it essentially means when you don't feel grounded, and it's almost as if the world seems like a movie and everything doesn't seem real. And that's kind of what I was going through, and I believe it was triggered by all these massive shifts and changes that I'm going through in my life. It's been such a transformational year for me, from my relationship ending, losing my cousin, moving to Bali, then moving back to London from Bali, dealing with all types of grief, including friendships, job-related issues. And the reason I'm mentioning all those things is because I want my listeners to relate to me. Anyone listening to this, I want you guys to know that it's okay to go through changes, and sometimes in life it feels like we're going a step back, but it's actually a door closing for another one to open. So it might feel like a step back, but there's no such thing as going back. And so for a long time I felt like I had to bottle things up, and one day it all came out like a big spot had been squeezed. And one of the main things that triggered this feeling was the feeling that I didn't know my place in this world. I didn't know that I belonged. This feeling that I know I'm here for a greater purpose. I'm here to inspire, to help people. And I'm not talking about, being famous or anything, but I know that my purpose is more than what I am doing now. And I think that really hit me a couple of weeks ago, which is what also inspired me to write this episode. And I know a lot of people in their 20s and 30s, maybe even older, who feel like this. And when you feel like this, it can genuinely feel like the end of the world. But I'm here to validate you and tell you that you're not the only one going through this. And this is something that became really apparent to me this year, this feeling of like not knowing my purpose, not knowing where I belong. And following all those losses in my life, I find myself questioning my purpose. Why am I here? And what is this deep feeling that I'm here for something bigger? And I was trying to figure it out, brainstorming. I like this, I like doing that, I like making videos. Maybe I'm here to help people online by posting videos, doing a podcast, writing a book. And these thoughts left me really confused because nothing felt right, nothing felt aligned. And it actually left me feeling a bit scared. I thought, what if I never actually find my purpose? And why is the idea of never finding my purpose so scary? So I think the reason it's important to have a purpose is because it leads us to one thing, and that's joy. In order to find your purpose, you have to follow your joy. And when you feel joy, it's such a powerful emotion that it speaks the truth from your subconscious, from the depths of your subconscious. And having a purpose is all about finding what makes you happy, like doing different activities and seeing what fulfills you, while at the same time being able to use your natural talents in order to pursue those activities. So for example, if you're good at sport, maybe joining a team, a netball team, a basketball team. And then it's all about getting involved and being absorbed within your passion that you completely lose track of time. And that's what I like to call being in a flow state. And this can look different for everyone. So for an artist, they compare being in a flow state to things related to creating something. For example, an artist or someone meditating or doing yoga, that's being in a flow state. It's when your mind is completely focused on that one thing. So what I found interesting when I was researching all of this is that when you think of purpose, 99% of the time people associate it with having a fulfilling career. And this blew my mind. So in an article written by John Coleman, he writes that in achieving professional purpose, most of us have to focus as much on making our work meaningful as in taking meaning from it. So what he's saying is that purpose is something you build. In some instances, people, may stumble on their purpose, moving through life, waiting until fate delivers a higher calling to us. And one example of this is the founder of It Cosmetics, Jamie Kern Lima. And I was listening to a podcast that she was on with Mel Robbins, and she was saying how she thought her purpose was to be on national TV. Now listen to this, because this was a big game changer for me. So she thought her purpose was to be on national TV. And when she finally made it, she thought that all her dreams had come true, until one day she was on air, and I think she said it was in her earpiece that she was wearing when she was, on screen. And she heard one of the producers say, "There's something on your face." And Jamie suffered with rosacea, and the person that said that to her, "There's something on your face," was referring to the rosacea that was peering through her makeup that had melted away. So to put a long story short, after that day she began her pursuit of creating a makeup brand, which then went on to be sold for billions of dollars. And her main message and purpose was to inspire women of all different shapes, sizes, colours and backgrounds to stand proud in their skin and to be confident in who they are. And I thought that was absolutely beautiful. So what you think you might want to do, so she thought her purpose was to be on national TV and be a news anchor or a presenter, and life was literally like, no, and redirected her into what she was meant to be doing. And I just thought that was such a beautiful story. She's such a beautiful human. But it also made me realize that everyone has a unique life, and success and purpose isn't measured by how much you sell your business for, how many people you help, or your social status. It just happened that Jamie was destined to grow that big in order to inspire thousands of women. So going back to that article, Coleman states that almost any work can possess a remarkable purpose, and I totally agree with this. And this is something Jamie Lima also says, which is why I adore her so much. So take school bus drivers, for example. It's their responsibility to get the children to school on time to get their education. Cashiers can be friendly, uplifting, and this can make someone's day. So purpose is often primarily derived from focusing on what's so meaningful and purposeful about the job and doing it in such a way that meaning is enhanced and takes center stage. And this is what Coleman says, and I just think that is absolutely beautiful. And it reminded me of some times where in the past I would buy a homeless person some food, and that was my purpose for that day. It was just to feed someone and make them feel happy and feel like they almost had a purpose, So just be kind always. Smile. So there's also no timeline for finding your purpose. The worst thing I do to myself is compare myself to others, and I know so many people do that. And one person I used to compare myself to was the beautiful Grace Beverly. So obviously she owns multiple businesses and she's probably a multimillionaire. And she's a year older than me, so she's around 26. And it's apparent that obviously her career is most definitely one of her purposes. But for someone like myself, and for anyone listening who can relate to this, if you're a high achiever, it can almost feel like you're a failure if you haven't achieved success as the next 20-year-old something self-made millionaire, because if they can't do it, why can't I? And these are the questions that I ask myself all the time, and these are actually limiting beliefs that I found were holding me back. Thankfully, I realized that I'm on my own unique path, and things will happen in their own time. But let's put one thing straight: you're not a failure, I'm not a failure. And another thing that helped me overcome these feelings of failure was developing a true connection to myself. So I have a tip for you guys. If you want to connect to yourself, delete Instagram for a while. I find myself comparing myself to others constantly on Instagram, and I really believe that this is one of the main reasons what led me to become disconnected from myself and constantly, strive for another person's idea of success. On my feed, I would see quotes like, those quotes that people post about, 9 to 5s keep you in the system. Do you want to be in the rat race and enslaved to consumerism? These giants are profiting off your hard work. Real successful people start their own businesses. The strongest people never give up on their dream. And that's genuinely the reality for some people, and that's so fine. But let's take a moment for all the single parents who have no choice but to have a 9 to 5 in order to provide their family. For all the people dealing with trauma, who were never encouraged to follow their passions growing up, who were never told they were capable, who were brought up in difficult family situations, who experience anxiety, depression, or other mental health conditions.